Lenin's double life his double death leads to two storylines because there's a fork in the road as well as a fork in the tongue. You may or may not know from my writings, depending on how long you've followed them, how intimately you've gotten into them. My loins were spliced so that I peed with pork prong as a child. The spray went in two directions. This is what the government means by throwing a fork in the road. Behind the face was the wizard room of Heidegger types. But because of how pernicious the plea to understand that the person who wrote the letters should be blamed, not the person who received them and was tortured as a child, put into an existential dilemma by a sadistic scientific police academy watch team who would have made sure that any detection was removed. And they play a series of games. They made pornographic films of me as a hostage child and then planted cocaine on me. And this is part of the police machinery that's at work in King Crimson, who worked with the Attica State Prison psychiatrist Bernard Wattenmaker in Pittsburgh. But all of that is moot because they say they didn't. They say John Lennon really died. It's not a Houdini. It's not a script. It's not a plot that he participated in, which he was given the lead role as a Houdini. So you're left with the storyline that some kid from Pittsburgh got blamed, got scapegoated. Did Toon know my father? Did he have some reason to have it in for me? And then you ask yourself on the emotional level. The kid hitchhiked from Pittsburgh to St. Louis just to hear Robert Fripp play. He was that attached to Bolero, the Peacock's Tale. Did he deserve the spite and malice of the very questionable troubadour who was borrowed from Zappa and passed around from Roxy Music and dopey David Bowie, when out of presumption of validity, I gave him a postcard from Fripp with my name on it, which is a distinguished name, a well-regarded name because of my father and my grandparents, because of my achievements. And I can see when I got old enough and wary enough to penetrate the corporate apparatus that Brian Eno has his beak in everywhere. Why these insufferable conglomerates would show auction interest in a card, and they made it more valuable than my life. Why would they do that to somebody who liked them? Why would they do that? It doesn't make sense even if you believe Lennon got done in, which many people do. It's an obligation of our society to believe that Lennon got done in. No matter how suspicious Toon's Van Gogh is, it's an obligation to say somebody tried to get him. No matter how suspicious the evidence of my being there with his attorneys, he went scot-free. Reagan waved to me the night before he put the hit on Brady. It's an obligation to believe that. But I was just driftwood in the matter. I was just washing up in these places. Had nothing to do with me. Nobody in their right mind believes it would have had anything to do with me. And that I would have anything to do with it. It's really, I can't, it's so stupid. I can't even bring myself to say what I'm talking about. It's that stupid. The idea of it is so blurred when in the face of reality of who I am that it doesn't make any sense. It's a superimposition from Alpha Centauri. Why would they do it? What motivated King Crimson and Peter Gabriel to fuck me up this badly for something that possibly didn't happen and certainly had absolutely nothing to do with me? So they can make a postcard more valuable than my life. They refuse to pay me for my work and injuries. They have a conspiracy of bar associations, a conspiracy of executive government, a conspiracy of school administrators absolutely refusing to give me legal representation. Who could deserve it more? They castrated me because of a girl I left alone. I didn't. They were offended that she rubbed a bush in my face, and I didn't take her virginity from her. They were offended that I had admirable restraint. They were so offended by my resistance to overcoming her coy sentiments that they castrated me. Who deserves representation more than me, I would like to know. I put all of that aside when I found out there were other victims and tried to get help for them. But Eno, Robert Anton Wilson were ready for an idea like that. And they had honed. The Ripper had a backblade of Peter Gabriel, the Mad Hatter. I can see why Gabriel would do it, because for people like that, nothing matters less. I could see why Mick Jagger would do that. For people like that, nothing matters less. I could see why Yoko Ono would do that. She had it in for my father. He was a Pacific naval veteran who was being targeted by the Japanese cinema underworld. Yes, there's evidence for that fact. The script itself is evidence for that fact. But I cannot understand why Robert Fripp would do it, unless he was behind it. I was some sort of burnt offering of his FBI disguise for MI6. As a human being, person to person, the fact that I went so far out of my way just to show courtesy and grace to somebody who I admired for his sensitivity that much showed what kind of person I am, as clearly as my poetry does. Why would he do it? Can you make sense of that? Was he overcome by the behemoth of Reagan? Oh, Mr. Reagan, I don't want to, but yes, I will sacrifice Jimmy Query. And I got Saul Becker on the fence, said Tamara de Jong's anointing Amanda Harcourt. Who could possibly mistake the malice, the sarcasm, the hatred, the venom, the poison of that Zia? They should have asked, what is he doing in this kid's life, and why is this kid so desperate that he came that far to see us? But a logical question was beyond their grasp, supposedly. And so they started making genocide peep to augment. The pictures they have of me as a child from Butler show clearly a traumatized child. The hands of militant pedophiles. They said, evidently Amanda Harcourt was saying he learned to like it. He wants us to do it to him now. Did it ever occur to them that I was investigating genocide pornography? Of course it did. They were behind it. Got to get in to get out. Come pot boil your Yankee imperialism queer ball for, you know, Chief, Lenin really died. That makes Reagan Chief Joseph for the tribe. We're going to annihilate the Yankee imperialists trying to get it on with the Hardys. And Chief Joseph Ronald Reagan is going to come and save the third world that way. This is Brian Eno in his spinner beanie. He goes, "Whoa!" He goes, "I'm coming, Beanie. I'm coming." And here come the worm jets into the World Trade Center. This is the world calling you on 911. Boom. And Cynthia Lennon was around those days. She's like, "Don't look at me."